how would you like to make your first million? And today we have Danny Brassell with us, and he is a highly sought after speaker, trainer, and coach known as Jim Carrey. Oh, wow. With the PhD, Dr. Danny Brassell. He has a book over 3,500 audiences worldwide. Oh, wow. He has written 21 books, including Leadership Begins with Motivation and Misfits and Crackpots. So, Danny, tell us, what are the 5 steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Harry, I'm a former teacher. First of all, thanks a lot for having me on. I appreciate all that you do. We need a lot more of you. I'm a former teacher, so everything I teach people either rhymes or it's alliterative. And so I help entrepreneurs, executives, and business owners transform their presentations into compelling talks that convert audiences into clients. And so the way you would convert that into your first $1 million are what I call the 5 C's process. And so those 5 C's are clarity. Before you put together your presentation, you need to be able to answer 2 questions. Who is your audience and what is the problem that you solve? Once you can answer both of those questions, then we can actually dive into your talk, which is to connect with your audience, teach meaningful content that serves them, have one clear call to action, and finally have an emotional close that causes people to jump out of their seats and rush to work with you.
So, tell us your story, Danny. How all started?
Yeah, if I was going to write an autobiography, it would probably be called Pivots because I feel like I've already lived 9 lives, Harry. 30 years ago, I was a journalist covering President Bush Sr. in the 1992 presidential election. I loved my job. I got to meet every editor of every major daily, and one editor offered me the city beat for $16,500 a year. Meanwhile, a friend told me they were hiring teachers in South Central Los Angeles for $25,000 a year. So, Harry, I became an educator for the noblest of reasons, for the high pay, and I fell in love with teaching. I've taught all age levels, from preschoolers all the way up to rocket scientists. I can make that claim because I used to teach English as a second language to engineering students at the University of Southern California. And in 2005, my wife and I attended a real estate seminar, which turned out to be a scam, and we lost everything financially. And I could give you the woe is me story, but I'm a positive person. I learned a lot of things from that. First of all, I learned that my wife is my soulmate. I put her through the ringer and she stood right by me. She's an incredible human being. Second of all, I learned that money's not everything because you can lose money just like that. Third, I try not to judge other people, Harry, because if I was somebody who saw what I had done, I would have said, well, you deserve that. But now I realize unless you know everything about a person, you really don't know anything about a person. Fourth, I became a Christian, which I'm always embarrassed to confess. It took a catastrophe, but the more I read my Bible, I realize I'm not the first screw up to find Jesus. And fifth, and probably most applicably to your podcast, is I didn't want to file bankruptcy. And my accountant said, well, you have to earn this much more money this year. So I started speaking on the side, and I hit that number right on the number. Well, the next year, Harry, he gave me a much higher number. And I hit that number right on the number. So in year 3, I thought, well, maybe I should set a higher number. And basically, during one of the worst economic downturns in world history, I was able to build up a highly lucrative speaking business, which eventually attracted the attention of some pretty famous people and companies who asked me to train them. And I have to confess, Harry, I really resisted coaching for a long time because you need to know this about me. I'm obsessive compulsive. I will not let you fail. I will be on your back, holding you till you succeed. Well, now that I work primarily with entrepreneurs and business owners and executives who pay me a lot of money, I find that they're highly motivated. They do the work, and it's been some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. So you can take me down whichever path you choose, my friend.
Okay, one, we need to work to talk about the property scam thing because out of the 500 millionaires we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are property investors, and so what it means that property is one of the greatest vehicles to create wealth. However, we always ask for the good, the bad, and the ugly of the property game, and you will be amazing to share that with us. So what is the good, the bad, and the ugly in property? And if you guys, after the scam, you've been investing in property again or never again, tell us about your experience for our audience, because our audience is a big fan of property. A lot of property millionaires come to this podcast, loads of them with amazing stories, but we always want to give a check to reality to our audience. And it would be fantastic if you can. You need to mention company names. We're not looking about that. We want to look about what people should be looking, right, to get the most of a property course, and what they should be avoiding, and tell us your experience about this.
Yeah, so the good, Harry, is I'm a big believer in real estate. It's actually where the bulk of my wealth is right now. It's in real estate. I mean, even though I lost everything in real estate, I built
Oh, wow.
myself.
Very
Yeah.
impressive. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting this one.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
expecting
No,
something, Harry, I lost a lot of money. I will never touch it again. Things doesn't happen to you. They happen for you.
that's
Probably.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe in real estate. My big mistake was I trusted a person that turned out to be untrustworthy, and so that would be my cautionary trail to people out there is if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. Beware of who your gurus are. But I don't have any regrets over that because it changed my course and set me on a path that opened up much bigger doors for me. So I'm a big believer in real estate, but I think that there's a lot of leeches out there, some conniving people that they're willing to do anything to get your dollars out of your pocket, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
exactly ethical. So you just have to
Mm-hmm.
know, I would do things very differently today, which I do.
Yeah. And then now you do the due diligence more careful, and now basically you have better mentors, right? Or
Yeah,
other mentors, right?
absolutely.
So the whole point is, because we are on the space, so the coaching, and to hiring your coaches is also a process. Okay.
Hmm.
It takes time until you find the right people. It doesn't mean that you don't need them. It's find right people. Okay, very good. Now, second question. Okay, I train speakers all over the world. A lot of property speakers. I've trained them myself in London and all over the world. We would like to know from you, Danny, which is very impressive because your background is teaching. Tell us, what are the things that speakers should be doing out there in order to get more corporate gigs,
Well, I
corporate
mean,
training.
yeah, you have to be more authentic. There's a lot of fake people out there. Everything in life, all business is based on relationships. I'm a big believer in AI, but I think AI should be about authentic intelligence, not artificial intelligence. The problem with artificial intelligence is it's artificial. There's nothing real about it. And so if you really want to expand your speaking, I mean, most of the people I work with, they either have no interest in speaking or they're terrified of speaking. I do work with some pretty big name speakers as well. The people that are trying to get more stages, things like that. I mean, that's why your podcast is a wonderful platform. I mean, this is a podcasts have opened up immense stages for everybody out there. But if you really want to increase your corporate speaking, I think what you need to do is to set yourself apart, identify a problem that might be addressed by lots of people, but you have to address it in a very different way. People aren't always looking for the exact same, if you just say you're a motivational speaker, that's not going to sell you, or I'm a leadership speaker, that's not going to sell you. But if you have a very specific viewpoint, which is different from other people, well, that's going to make you stand out. But I find
So,
that
Danny, how you did it? Danny, how you did it when you started then? Let's say, okay, you started to do the speaking on the side, like you said. So how you find, number one, this is very important,
yeah.
right? It's no, you cannot be a leadership speaker. You cannot be a motivational speaker. You need to be very specific type of speaker based in your background. I think the fact that you're an educator brings a lot to the table, right? Uh, but how you find that topic, how you find that that set you apart from the rest and give you more and more and more gigs as a general concept?
Yeah.
What was this process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Harry. So I believe that you have to start with the lowest niche possible. And so I I was a public school teacher, and so I began my speaking career specifically talking to public school teachers. And then I became more comfortable, and then I started talking to teachers from anywhere. And then I started speaking to parent groups, and then to administrators, and then like you, I believe in investing in coaching. I was in a mastermind, and one of the gentlemen in my mastermind ran a very successful business. And he asked me if I would motivate his sales force. And I told him, I don't know if I'm qualified to motivate your sales team. I'm just a teacher. And he looked at me like I was an idiot. He's like, Danny, if you can get inner city teenage boys to read Shakespeare, I'm pretty sure you can motivate my sales team. He did me a favor, Harry. He got me to expand my thinking. And so I didn't start off, a lot of people, for example, I'm working with a woman right now. She wants to be a speaker, and she said she wants to be a $10,000 an hour speaker. And so the question I asked her is, great. Do you look like a $10,000 an hour speaker? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you have a speaking reel? No. Do you have a website? No. Do you have testimonials from past audiences? No. Do you have a brochure? No. So let me ask you a question. Do you look like a $10,000 an hour speaker? I mean, I wasn't trying to be demeaning to her. I said, we'll help you put that stuff together, but you can't just all of a sudden say, oh, I'm going to make $25,000 for corporate financials whatsoever. I mean, you look at the biggest people in the business, people like John Maxwell and Tony Robbins and Les Brown. They started small, and they worked their way up. They didn't just start off as $75,000 an hour speakers.
Yeah, I have a pleasure to share the stage with Les Brown in London, and it was a fantastic. Also, been the stages with Tony Robbins with some big names. Uh, But Danny, I want to come back to something because I think it's key. For example, when you were speaking with school teachers, with your parents, yeah, what topic? How come you got so many gigs? What you were talking about? How
Yeah.
you find that topic?
Yeah, so let me give you an example, Harry. I was in India touring schools, and this one principal opened up a door, and there's 5,000 kids in this auditorium. There's 20 newspapers and 5 TV channels. And the principal says, and now for the next hour, Dr. Brassell is going to teach us the 3 secrets to reading better. Harry, nobody's told me I'm speaking, and I have no such speech, but I got 5,000 kids, I got media, I'm live. So I look at the kids. Fortunately, it's India. I get to slow down my speech, and I'm like, today I am going to teach you the 3 secrets to reading better. Who wants to learn the 3 secrets to reading better? And the kids are going wild. And in my head, I'm like, what the heck are the 3 secrets to reading better? And over those 30 seconds, I use the exact same process I teach my clients now, put together a presentation that was broadcast to 1.5 billion people, and now I actually have a company based on that, on my reading strategy. So the heart of your question is what people would hire me for is to motivate them and to talk about how to get kids reading, because I find schools do an adequate job of teaching kids how to read. But the question I always ask people is, what good is it teaching a kid how to read if they never want to read? I teach kids why to read, because I've never had to tell a kid, go turn on the television set. I've never had to tell a kid, go play a video game. And I never want to have to tell a kid, go read. I want them to choose to do it because they already think it's fun. And there's simple strategies I share with audiences to show kids how to get excited about reading. And really, one of the biggest problems I see in the world today is, and this isn't the people listening to your podcast. The people listening to your podcast are people that want to develop and grow. But I see a lot of adults that they almost write, they wear it as a point of pride that they don't read anymore. And I'm like, well, that's just despicable and sad.
Danny, now let's go more technical. because I love, for example, you have 5,000 people in the audience, and look how much energy you got there. I think that all the years and years of teaching finally pay off. That's the other thing with the public speaking thing, right? The people also said, well, I want to be a 10,000 an hour speaker, but speaking is skill. The more you practice, the better you become. You and I, look, English is not my first language. And I train people how to speak it, and so the point is how you convey that idea, how you connect with the audience. And for example, something amazing you have done, Danny, like, for example, you were ready for this, okay? In the Les Brown event, I was not due to speak before Les. I was due to speak in the morning, and Les Brown is speaking in the afternoon. And I arrived there in the morning, ready for my speech, and then the promoter at TIA told me, Harry, you're not gonna speak in the morning as I was planned. I want you to speak before Les. And she looked into my eye and she told me, look, and Harry, I wanted that you lift them up. I want that you, after you finish, you give me leave this audience on the high, because I cannot have the people on the low and then bring less, right? So, and then after the years, I asked Tia, why you did this change? And she told me, Harry, because you were ready. You were ready for that task. I saw you speak before. So, and I think, Danny, you were ready. You just didn't know. When you jump into this 5,000 kids opportunity, you were ready. Now, something impressive that you did is exactly say, you told them who want to learn, right? So these big stages, you have to amplify a lot. You have to, like the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, he had to do crazy moves because, it's just to large audiences. However, Danny, like for example, you started with a question. So you want them to engage. You want all of the 5,000 to participate. You didn't even know yet what you're going to teach them, but you knew something. You need to get them engaged.
Yep.
You want them to react straight away, right at the beginning, which is a very powerful skill, right? That we train our speakers. I'm sure you train yours. But then, Danny, I teach a lot of, I train a lot of teachers also. And the issue with the education system, Danny, is that it's auditory, right? So the teachers speak and the students listen. So what happened is that only 30% of your students are auditories. The other 30 are visual, like me, I'm a visual, and the other are kinesthetic. Like, for example, for me, if you put me in a class, and I was never in the top in my university, never in the top in the high performance school, then I was never in the top in anywhere, and I got even bullied sometimes, okay, in the high performance school, because it was a high performance school, but I was the lowest performer in the high performance school because I'm a vision, right? So for me, if you start to talk and you don't show some drawings, you lost me already. You can call it HDSD, you can call it whatever, but I am a visual person. You see, look my background. Some people come to this podcast and say, Harry, it's too much going on. Well, I'm a visual, so I need to see image, I need to see color. That's how I learn, that's how I operate. So then, Danny, my question to you is, and clearly you know this stuff because when you get them to participate, you are getting the kinesthetics, which is the most difficult to engage because they need to move, they need to say something, they have to react to you. And of course, if in the education system, when we give lessons, rather than doing the auditory, we target three of them, the auditory, the visual, and the kinesthetics, we will have better results at the schools from the students, which I talk about this a lot in the House of Lords in London. They give me a clap and they don't do anything. And the education system, the class, look how much they evolve. All this stuff, you and I, we know that is out there. So what's happening with the education system? What is the problem? The problem is the teachers, the problems are the students, or the problem is the education system that don't allow great speakers like you to show this technology about experiential learning to teachers so they can deploy. Or I'm going to give you another option. Maybe it's okay that not everybody perform better, so we can have workers.
Well, the short answer to your question is yes. It's all of those things. You already answered the question. Is everybody's different? I was on a podcast the other day, and the interviewer, she asked me, "What do you believe in, public schools or private schools?" And I said, "Yes." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, some kids they do well in public schools. Some kids it's a private school. Some kids it's homeschool. Some kids it's a magnet school. Some kids it's a vocational school. Every kid is different. Just like you said, some kids they process with their eyes, some
The
kids
way of
process
learning, right? They
and
have
yeah,
different way.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of dyslexic students, and dyslexia is by far the most undiagnosed reading disability. All reading disabilities are curable, by the way. And people don't understand that dyslexic people, like Sir Richard Branson, they process information a lot better with their ears. And so for those students, I do a lot of reading aloud to them, listen to audiobooks. That's how you're going to process a lot better. You know, most people, it's the majority of people, it's visual. And then there's obviously people that have to get up and moving. I mean, in this day and age, a teacher just talking and disseminating information to a bunch of students is going to be very ineffective because kids are used to edutainment. You have to educate them, but
There
also
you
entertain.
go. Create a, even further, Danny, we have to create an experience if you want them to
Of
learn
course,
something. Yeah.
of
But you
course.
did that.
This
You
is
did that in front of these 5,000 students when you were there. Because look at you, you just tell me how many of you is like you're performing.
yeah.
You asking a
No,
question, you're shouting, you are engaging, you're smiling, you are so you are putting up a show for them
of
because
course.
you want them to learn. It's nothing to do with your ego. It's nothing to do with, oh, look, Danny, how different he is. How come he's doing like this? You know that out of these 5,000 people, there are auditory, they are visual, they are kinesthetic. Some of them have to move. Some of them want to see your clothes. Some of them want to raise their hand. Some of them want to see a PowerPoint. Some of them. So you need to use as more resources of you have out of your speech to engage with this one. Even us, Danny, we take it to a next level because sometimes we sell our products from the stage.
That's right.
So we need to cater everybody because when was the last time that you bought something that you don't understand? So we need to wherever we are presenting, we have to make sure that everybody get it, regardless if you're visual, you're kinesthetic, you're auditory, you have so it's more complex this creative presentation effectively than what it looks like, right? That's why you go to a corporate. That's why I'm asking you about corporate. You go to a corporate meeting in a bank, you see someone present a PowerPoint, the meeting finished, and you ask the people, say, "Oh, that was so boring. Since God that this guy finished." So it's very
Well,
disempowering.
and Harry, that's why what you and I do is so important. I mean, that's the power of storytelling is of all people, it was Joseph Stalin who said a million dead is a statistic, one person dead is a tragedy. Translation, facts tell, but stories sell. Facts inform, stories transform. I've never had a person 6 months after one of my presentations come up to me and say, "Oh, Danny, you know what I love the most about your presentation was that one PowerPoint slide that had 28 bullet points that you couldn't read because the font was so small. But they remember jokes. They remember when I get them up and moving. They remember laughter and creating what you said, an experience. That's what we have to do in presentations. And that's what I'm working on with the people, my clients. It's, well, how do I take this lame presentation and make it interesting? Because I have clients that'll come up to me and say, "Oh, Danny, I got a standing ovation." I'm like, "Good for you." And other clients will say, "Oh, they think I'm the best speaker." I'm like, "Wonderful." The only way I measure your effectiveness on stage is how many people in your audience decided to take the next step with you. Now, it can be an unpaid next step, like subscribe to my podcast or vote for me. More typically, it's with my clients,
Tell
it's
me
usually
about
a
it.
paid. Yeah, yeah. Usually
Tell
with
me,
my clients, yeah, it's a paid offer like buy my product or invest in my coaching program. We want to
but it's a
help people.
difficult. And
Yeah,
Danny,
I
it's a
want.
different thing, right? Let's go there because we talk about motivational
Okay.
speaker. And Les Brown, our colleague, is, in my opinion, one of the greatest motivational speaker. And when I started my speaking career, Danny, this happened to me. Everybody, Harry, that was amazing. They give you a big applause and nobody's buying.
Well, that's a problem.
I was the best. I was the best at clapping. Everybody was crazy over me, right? So, and I'm like, hold on a minute. This is
What just happened?
something. What is going on? Yeah. So, bottom line, the one thing is to motivate them, or what I call it, inspire them, right? The other thing is create transformation process when you speak. It's a more sophisticated skill, more difficult, in my opinion. Okay,
Hmm.
it goes one level higher um, out of the motivational speech. Like one of my coaches, he has sold over 200 million online. He went for 90 minutes in London. He almost sold a million in one shot. This is $1 million. This is a particular skill set that not too many people have done. Yeah, I mean, to get a club or to say, but now actually say, like I said, you can influence the audience so people buy your product, your service, and also hold on without manipulating. Because I want to go there, like for example, this speaker that you bought the product, right? That got scammed is very good at in that part, in the selling, in getting the audience to get an outcome. Okay, there are people out there that have skill of that, but in the back you need to have a good product, otherwise people don't repeat, people don't buy again, and I don't think any business can be sustainable like this. You can
Hmm.
you can be very good at persuasion and sales and selling from the stage and so on, but in the back end you need to have something that it has good value. So uh, those events that you go down, the people said, I say, how was the event? Everybody, hardly was too much selling,
Hmm.
selling all the time. And I'm like, this is these are the speakers. Clearly, the audience don't see a value because they are not enrolling them, they're not telling the story, and they're not communicating value effective. Some of them can have a good product, but if you don't communicate your value effectively, and then you do exactly like you said, 100 bullet points and PowerPoints, you're gonna bore them to death, and then you're gonna sell them something, and they're bored. They didn't pay attention what you're actually doing because you bored them to death, and you want to teach them. That's the other thing, Danny, right? That a lot of speakers go out there with the teacher mode, and they want to teach, without space for a story, without space for engagement. And again, the it doesn't really work like that. You cannot get them engaged. But my go to you, that is very specific. So, what message do you have for those speakers out there that they come to me also, that they are corporate, they are working in a bank, they're working in finance, and you say you when you tell them, look, we're gonna teach you some skills about storytelling, how to engage your audience. We're gonna give you some techniques, and they say, well, Harry, you know what? This is I'm a serious person, I'm a financial person. This is I cannot do this storytelling. I'm very corporate. This is serious stuff. This is no all the things you do. I cannot do that. So, what message do you have for those speakers that think that what we are trying to teach them is good for others, but it doesn't work for them because they are corporate, they're serious, and things like that. What can you tell me?
Well, I've taught all ages, and what I learned long ago is what works with older students does not necessarily work with kindergartners, but what works with kindergartners works with all age levels. I call kindergarten New York, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere because they have about a 7 minute attention span. And I would challenge any corporate leader who says, "Oh, corporate's different." I'm like, "Give me a break." How many corporate leaders are sitting there in their meeting looking at their watches because they're so bored by your lame presentation? Just because you teach it doesn't mean they learn it. It doesn't mean they're absorbing anything. What you want to do is get retention. The way you get retention is by storytelling. And so I'm very deliberate. So here's an exercise everybody in your audience can do is, and you can do this also, Harry, is later on sit in a comfortable chair with a libation of choice and a pen and paper, and for an hour, write down every story that's ever happened to you. And I don't mean the entire story, I just mean triggers, like the time I locked myself out of the car in front of the grocery store, the time dad spilt mustard on his tie when we went to that fancy restaurant. You'll find in an hour you can come up with hundreds of stories like this. So that's the first part of the exercise. The second part of the exercise is then I want you to think about, what's this story really about? Oh, this is a story about never giving up. Oh, this is a story about priorities. Oh, this is a story about teamwork. So I literally have hundreds of files on my computer with tens of thousands of stories. So when I need a story to teach a specific item, I know exactly how I'm going to teach that. Corporate is just like kindergarten as far as I'm concerned. If you're trying to build your team, you don't build your team by throwing in lots of graphs and numbers and things like that. You tell a compelling story that relates to whatever the challenge is that you're facing. That's the difference, Harry, between a good speaker and a great speaker. Good speakers tell stories. Great speakers tell stories with intent. So I'll give you an example. I'm more so my co-founders are Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson, Dave Ward. Coach Jimmy was a Broadway performer, and Dave was an attorney. So I call us the professor, the performer, and the producer. And so when we're working with clients, I believe in discretion, so I never name any of our clients. All you have to do is talk to the performer, Jimmy. He'll name drop everybody we work with in the first sentence, but I believe in discretion. So right now, we're working with one of the top nutritionists in the world, and she has a presentation where she offers a 90-day coaching program to women who have this dietary problem for $2,000, 1997. And she was ending her presentation there, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 big mistake. If you end there, you're ignoring potentially half of your audience, because you have to understand there's two types of people in your audience. I'm going to be very stereotypical and call it the husband and the wife. The husband's listening to your presentation like this, has his arms crossed, like, who is this? What are they trying to sell me? What do I got to do? How much does it cost?" And a very well crafted presentation addresses all of those questions to his satisfaction. But if you end your presentation there, like Dr. Kathy was doing, you've ignored the wife. The wife is Julia Roberts. She doesn't care how much it costs. She just wants to feel good. The reason I listen to Harry's podcast, I always feel good. He's like my long lost brother. I always learn so much from Harry. And so Dr. Kathy needed to create a story for that part of the presentation. And so I said, "Well, what do you want your audience to do?" And she said, "Well, I want them to buy my program." I'm like, "Yes, I know you want them to buy your pro." We went like this back and forth for 5 minutes. And finally she let it slip. She said, I want the women in my audience to understand they can't do it on their own. Ah, you need to hire an expert story. She's like, "A what?" I'm like, "I'll give you an example. I'll leave you all today with this. Many years ago, my wife and I had theater tickets. We were dressed to the nines, driving to the theater when we got a flat tire. My wife said, "Well, I'll call AAA and get us a tow truck." I'm like, "You don't have to call AAA. I'm a man. I can fix a flat tire." So I got out of the car and I opened up the trunk, and I got the spare tire, and then I got the pumper thing, and then I got the big jack thing to try and take off the nuts off of the tire. And 27 minutes later, I have grease all over my hands. I have not fixed the flat tire. I look up, my wife is standing beside the car with her arms crossed, shaking her head like, "I could have done so much better than this guy." Well, unbeknownst to me, 27 minutes earlier, she had called AAA, and this tow truck shows up. And this 17-year-old punk kid hops out of the tow truck and proceeds to fix my flat tire in 3 minutes flat. You know, I think there are times in life when all of us think we can do it on our own, but if you want to save time, you want to save money, you want to save a whole lot of headache and embarrassment, you hire an expert. And so now what I've just shown Dr. Kathy is, here's how you take a story that has nothing to do with what you've been talking about, but it shows the audience the action you want them to take, which is, I've tried lots of diets in the past, none of them seem to work. Dr. Kathy seems to know what she's talking about. I think I should probably enroll in Dr. Kathy's program. That's the difference between just telling a story and telling a story with intention.
Like I always say, Danny, never tell a story without a point and never make a point without a story, right? And
Absolutely.
And in that, I organize events also all over the world, and I bring a lot of speakers to my events. And I remember a very high qualified speaker that I called him and said, "Look, I want you to speak about this topic." And I know that is not his regular topic. And look what he told me, Danny. He told me, "Harry, let me check my archive of stories and let me get back to you." That was his answer. I'm talking about one of, I won't mention name because, but it's one of the highest paid speaker in the world.
No.
I thought, look, I know that is not your thing, but I I will love if you speak about this. And this was his answer. He told me, okay, Harry, let me check in my archive of stories, and I will get back to you and I will tell you if I can deliver that topic powerfully. As I so that there is a big lesson there, that a highly trained speaker that knows that they want to offer this joy, this transformation to the audience. Because at the end of the day, we do it for the people. We want them. And this is another story. I have a friend in London which had been teaching in Harvard and Oxford. Oh, wait, yeah. No, in Cambridge and Oxford, both universities in United Kingdom. And he has twin. We talk a lot about experiential learning, accelerated learning. He's we hang around a lot, and he's a great mind on that. And look what he told me, Danny. He told me, Harry, I got twins. They are 30-second different, one after the other one, and they learn completely different.
Yeah.
And by the way, both of his kids have been the youngest kids ever in Great Britain that passed the ESO level or whatever. I think that they hold even Guinness record. I had to double check,
Wow.
but I think his kids. However, they learn totally different. Totally. One is more about, it's like visual. He needs to see YouTube things. He had to learn the math doing YouTube and the video. He had to think, and I don't. The other ones, I don't know how to be more sitting. It had to be more logic. It doesn't like. So he told me, Harry, they are 30 seconds different one of the other one, and they are twins, and the way of learning is completely different. So I think, Danny, that is from the school, which is something I'm very passionate about. Okay, probably because I was bullied when I was at the school because of my way of learning. I think that as a professor, my parents are professors; they are teachers, right? And I talked this topic with the other day with my dad, and it still is difficult to me to articulate that to him. I'm telling him that, we have to tell more stories, we have to tell like this. Said, yeah, but imagine that I'm gonna teach my lesson physics, and I have to do all that. So when I go and deliver the whole content, that works for you, Harry, but doesn't work for the education system. So, and has been teaching for so many years, right? So these persuasion skills, this storytelling, this engagement, not only have to be applied to the speakers that we train, which is the highest performer in the world. Like, for example, I have a client that owns 300 supermarkets on the size of Walmart, right? So, of
Hmm.
course, these people pay can afford this type of coaching because they have to engage a lot of employees, and if they can get the message across, the company can make millions. But this technology also should be available for all teachers, right? How you can deliver in your school more experiential learning techniques, more. I done a lot of conferences in Peru to teachers in Peru about this topic. What they love it, by the way. So how we can get a classroom, right? And we deliver the lesson in a way that everybody engage, and whoever then study more will have the higher note. But at least everybody had the chance to absorb the content in a more democratic way, right? And this skill can enhance performance in the school, and also if you translate it to your corporate life, or whatever, it will have massive results. So still a lot of work, Danny, needs to be done. Yeah. If I once need to speak about the topic again in front of teachers, yeah, I will love to bring you over because we have a lot of work. They don't pay that good. I mean, I don't even charge to university. That's true. When I speak at university, I don't. They cover the hotel, they cover the food, whatever. I don't charge to universities. This is my social responsibility part of the thing. But we need to talk more with the schools and to get the best of the education system out there, so we have more equal opportunities for everybody out there. Last message. If somebody's in love with this conversation and wants to know more about you, about your books, how people can find you, how this process works.
Well, as a thank you to you, Harry, and your audience for having to listen to me today, I wanted to give everybody a freebie. Freestoryguide.com. Guide like a tour guide. Freestoryguide.com. I'm going to give everybody their own well-crafted story blueprint. What this is the actual process that Coach Jimmy, Dave, and I take our clients through to help you create your well-crafted story. What this does for you is it takes the guesswork out of what story should I use and where should I put it in my presentation. And what this means is you now have a system to convert your audiences into actual clients. You can get that at freestoryguide.com. And again, Harry, thank you so much for having me today. I love it. And I just agree with so much of what you're saying. And I'm glad you're in the world, my friend.
Me too. I'm glad that you're on the world. And then, and also, Danny, that people need to know that they doesn't have to be your own story. You can even leverage the story of somebody else. If you don't have a story about the flat tire, but you want to make that point, you can leverage Danny's story. You can say, well, let me tell you, I have a friend, his name is Danny Brassell, and this is what happened to him and his wife, right? And again, you can articulate the story even if it's not yours and to get the same point, because at the end of the day, what we want is the engagement of the audience, that they actually get in the point, right? So again, one more time, never make a point without a story. Never make a story without a point. And if you become a great storyteller, or this is something that literally Les Brown told me behind the stage, right? In so many years ago, we were talking about this. I was starting my speaking career, and Les told me, Harry, look, people will pay you just to listen your story. Focus in the storytelling. We even design our ontology for storytelling at the speakers at least. Les told me, Harry, don't even create pros, don't even say behind the stage. You do that. If you master storytelling, people just will tell you to listen your story. And this is all Les Brown is one of the greatest storytellers of all times, and we have a great admiration. It's a very close friend, and it's one of the most spectacular people out there in the art of storytelling. I think it's king, right? What you just shared, Danny. So thank you so much. I'm also grateful, and thanks so much for the gift for the audience, because for everybody listening to this podcast, if you get really, really, really good at storytelling, you're going to be a great speaker. Is that correct, Danny? Yes or no? Only but become a great storyteller is a good start.
Definitely on the path.
Yeah, it takes
start
more,
with
yeah.
good stories, and then we can focus on the mechanics after that.
Exactly. It's gonna take, but you are in the right path, yeah. Which is actually not that easy. Not that easy to become a great storyteller. Sounds easy. Story. I can say a story. Well, there is a science behind. So thank you so much, and for all of you following the podcast, you know our next episode on about how brave entrepreneurs like Danny break the world, which is the first me. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.